Every time before we get to a trine, we work through a square, right? In the natural order. So we work through the square. Now we are embodying something new. We have help from Saturn here. Saturn is trining this moon, so that is beautiful and constructive and possibly also productive, specifically when it comes to working through stuff internally. And then obviously externally. Inner understanding needs to come first, and then we can live it out in the external. Good morning, my loves. Welcome back. So it is Sunday, and we are talking about the week ahead. And well, what's going on this week? It's not a slow week, but it is also not the most difficult week we've experienced this year. We still have Jupiter sextile Chiron. I know you're probably bored of me saying this by now. I've been talking about this for the past probably 3-4 weeks, but this is a theme. This is a theme that we take through the Jupiter and through the Chiron retrograde, right? The theme of inner expansion. Chiron is representing our inner child, and Jupiter is representing expansion. And these two in retrograde are an inward journey. And we get to work on those layers, that gunk that is there, that is in the way really, that isn't helping us to move forward, to live our life fully, to live our life authentically. So that is still a theme. And like I said, it will be a theme throughout the whole Jupiter and Chiron retrograde. Now we're starting the week on Monday, the 28th of October, with Venus square Saturn, one of our favorite aspects. I think I've talked about this aspect when it comes to composite charts, synastry charts, Davidson charts, a lot. It is an aspect that I see a lot in relationship charts. I see it more in relationship charts actually than in natal charts. I mean, obviously it is very common in natal charts too. But in transit, what can we expect from this aspect? Well, we have Venus in Sagittarius, right? Venus is expanding. She is like putting her wings out and she wants to fly. And Saturn in Pisces tries to set boundaries. And Saturn in Pisces is trying to set boundaries in a very nebulous field, right? Like it's Neptune land. It's also Jupiterian land, Pisces. We can't forget that. And Saturn is really quite literally trying to clear the path, setting a clear path that we can then walk on. I always look at the square between Pisces and Sagittarius as the most unnatural square. And what I mean by that is these signs are both ruled by Jupiter. So they have a lot of commonality. But obviously, one is a fire sign and the other one is a water sign. These two elements don't really match well. However, I think this square is not as squarey as all the other squares. Doesn't mean it can't be annoying, and it will be annoying. And what I see could be annoying here, what could bring intention here is the fact that Venus is spreading her wings and she wants to grow and expand in all ways possible. And Saturn wants to make sure we're not getting lost. So there's this dance where Venus is like, oh, let me do my thing. I want to do my thing. Let me just expand. Let me explore. Let me, learn whatever I need to learn out there. And there's this Saturn idea of restriction. And again, we're talking about Pisces, Saturn and Pisces. So the restriction is not the classic restriction of like, I'm holding you back, I'm keeping you here and I'm not letting you go. It's more of a restriction that comes in in a way where we are confused. Maybe the way this could show up is that you are in a relationship. Let's just take this example of a relationship because it's the easiest. You're in a relationship, you realize you need more freedom, you need to explore, you need to go out there in the world a little more. And your partner is using manipulative tactics to hold you back, right? Not in as like, no, I want you here, but your partner is using manipulative tactics to get you to stay. They're not straight out saying, no, stay, you can't go, we can't have a relationship like this. But they find ways, and it's very confusing. You will be very confused, and the other might also be very confused, right? This confusing feeling is going to be there because we're dealing with Pisces. Yes, we're dealing with Saturn, but we're dealing with Saturn and Pisces. There's this feeling of you want to just break out, but now you're not even sure anymore what is right or what is wrong. You're confused. What do I even want? Do I even want to be in this relationship? Right? Again, this is just one example, but there is a lot of confusion, and that confusion comes through the feeling of I feel restricted in some shape or form. Even though I can do what I want, but I still feel like the question here is, where within yourself are you not clear? Where within yourself are you not clear about what you want, the vision for your life? Where you're not clear about that vision? And how can you get more clear about it? What does it take? What does it, what do you need to do? Do you need to talk to someone? Do you need to talk to a professional? What does it take? Neptune, we just talked about Pisces. Neptune is also a player on this day. Neptune is in a trine with Mars. Neptune started trining Mars yesterday, right? The trine was approaching already yesterday, but we are still very much in it today. And like I said to you in last week's forecast, that this is a trine that can be really, really beautiful if we are able to tap into this energy, because this is Mars, the action, and this is Neptune, the all, right? Everything is possible. And if Mars can tap into that, with a trine, it is usually easier to tap into it. It is not as confusing as if we have a square or even a conjunction or an opposition, right? It's not as tricky. There is more potential of things really working out, and because we are coming from an embodied place here with the trine. Every time before we get to a trine, we work through a square, right? In the natural order. So we work through the square. Now we are embodying something new. And now Mars can go after things. So I actually think this plays really well into the Venus square Saturn. Believe it or not, even with Neptune, I think we can be quite productive here. If we are not allowing ourselves to, sabotage ourselves, right? Like manipulate ourselves, telling ourselves that for this or that reason, I can't do or go after this thing. Then on the 30th, we have Mercury opposing Uranus. This can relate to conversations about your understanding of freedom and liberation, your authenticity too. Like maybe this is actually a conversation about what you authentically feel about a certain situation, or what you truly believe and think about a certain situation or a certain way of living even. So this could be a conversation that is a little tense because we are having an opposition here. We're coming from two ends of the spectrum. But again, also what we can have with this is like we are able to see the other side more clearly. We might not like what we see, at least not to begin with, but if we are able to integrate and, first of all, before we integrate it, accept the other view, respect it, accept it, and maybe see the benefit in it, we might be able to learn something and integrate something and that helps us grow, and that helps us grow in all ways, mentally, but then also physically as in utilizing it in your life. Then on the 31st, we have Mercury trining Neptune. We've just had Neptune in trine with Mars. So I think this is another aspect that can actually bring out into the open things that we've been trying to hide, or that we didn't want to talk about because we felt it was, I don't know, inappropriate, or maybe if we would have talked about it, we wouldn't have been accepted, or, you know, there are all kinds of reasons why we, you know, tell little white lies or even bigger lies, or we are just hiding things. But this could be a beautiful time to have this conversation and talk about these things. Usually, you know, Neptune related aspects are not generally, especially with Mercury, are usually not the truth tellers. But I think with the trine, we can tap into that in an easier way, and we might be more open. Both people, whoever is involved here, might be more open to having these conversations. And you know, also in a productive way, because with Neptune we have like this vast land, but it's nebulous and we don't really see, it's a little bit unclear. But with Mercury here, Mercury, you know, brings structure into the mental sphere, and may help us here to get through the fog and get to the actual issue that, you know, is holding us back in, you know, our friendship, our relationship, our business partnership, whatever we have. Then on the 1st, we have the new moon in Scorpio. There is a separate video, so I'm not going to get into this in detail. Wonderful moon. I love that moon very much. Not necessarily the easiest. We have help from Saturn here. Saturn is trining this moon, so that is beautiful and constructive and possibly also productive, specifically when it comes to working through stuff internally, and then obviously externally, right? Like inner understanding, the inner understanding needs to come first, and then, you know, we can live it out in the external. But yeah, the two rulers of this moon, Mars and Pluto, are in opposition here. And they are in opposition in the sign of the mother and the father, which represents a Cancer and Capricorn. So yes, you know, Capricorn obviously represents more than that, but, you know, on a basic level, that's what we are dealing here with. And we are talking about the moon, a new moon. So I think, and I talk about this in the new moon video, I think there could be realizations. Also Mercury is involved. Mercury is actually in a trine and a sextile with Pluto and Mars. So there could be conversations that bring up things that help you realize something. Maybe that relates to your upbringing, to your mother, to your father, right? The relationship that you have with them. There might be some clarity coming up here for you, that you understand something in maybe regarding why you live the way you live, or why you do what you do, and you understand something. You know, maybe it's been something that you've been always doing it and it's been your thing, but it doesn't really get you anywhere. And now you're understanding, okay, I'm doing this because X, Y, Z. And, you know, now that you understand it, you can shift and change it. So beautiful moon. So on the 2nd, we still are dealing with the Mercury sextile to Pluto and the trine to Mars. I think we're just continuing this theme, the new moon theme. We are taking it into the weekend. So maybe this is going to be a beautiful weekend for you to have conversations with loved ones that are healing, deeply healing, right? We're dealing with Pluto here. This is the last time we have this new moon with Pluto and Capricorn. So I think this is a big one, clearing things up within you, restructuring things within you, deep on a really, really, really deep level. Last but not least, the 3rd of November, we have Mercury move into Sagittarius, and then obviously soon the Sun will follow suit. So we are entering more fiery territory again. We are it's a much more exciting time. We are coming out of the internal world where we were very internalized, the thinking, everything was very internalized with Mercury in Scorpio. Now Mercury has learned something, understood something, and now Mercury can actually apply it in the external. Then last but not least, Venus is opposing Jupiter and trining Chiron in Aries, and Jupiter is sextiling Chiron. So this is like a really interesting little combination here that we have. So we have Jupiter, the big expander, we have Chiron, the inner child that wants to be heard, seen, and understood, and we have and healed, and we have Venus, worth, value, the way we relate, the way we love, the way we want to be loved. And this can obviously unfold in lots of different ways. So maybe this will relate to your relationships. Maybe there is some understanding that you have within yourself that then helps you in your relationship, right? Maybe there's things haven't worked out, you've done your inner work, and now you're coming back to the table and maybe explaining why this and that happened. And maybe now you can restructure things within the relationship. When we have Venus and Jupiter in an opposition, it usually isn't too difficult because we are dealing with the two benefics. They both are, they both want just the best. They want the best for each other. They want to thrive together. So yes, we have this opposition, and there is a little back and forth possibly, but I think this is actually a more helpful aspect. The two are, even in opposition, they want to move into the same direction. So I think this can actually be a really productive weekend, constructive and productive, because we just talked about that new moon that we have that is very constructive with Saturn in the mix. And I think it's gonna be also a very busy weekend, right? We have there's a lot of fire energy going on here. Chiron in a fire sign, Venus in a fire sign, Jupiter fueling everything in an air sign. So I think it's going to be a fiery weekend. I'm not saying this is going to be positive for everyone, it really depends on what's going on in your life and how you deal with what's going on in your life. But I think this can be very productive and rewarding. That feeling of, I feel good about this, that kind of feeling. So I wish you a beautiful week. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you want a personal reading, click on the link in the description box. And other than that, I wish you a beautiful week, and I will see you in the next video.